Mark Hope Show.
Hello.
And I have my co-host Jeff Myers.
Hello.
And really, the format of this show is just to see who we can help and what we can do for people. That's the whole idea of the show. And we help small businesses, we help individuals, people that need to get their questions asked, and until somebody comes to us and reaches out to get our help, we just kind of talk about dude stuff.
That's right.
And Jeff is out on the road today because he's a dude dad.
Isn't the power of technology amazing that
He's
can
got
do all
a couple
this
of young guys
from
that
the
are doing
road?
birthday parties.
Yep, from the road today.
That's awesome. I love that.
Not on the road, but from the road.
So let's talk about what's going on in your life. You just completed that investment property.
Yeah.
That's pretty exciting.
It is. It is. It's cool to see that come full circle, and a lot of stuff going into that. Getting it.
Well, let's
getting
talk
it
about it.
prepped.
Let's talk about it since that's your thing.
Yep.
You saved up a bunch of money.
Did. Yep.
And had it in a high yield savings account.
Yep. Just while it did something, so it could do something while it was waiting for the right move.
And then I started investing in these small towns in Oklahoma.
Yep.
And we found one in Drumright. And the important thing is we got to buy these properties correctly. That's the most important thing that we look for.
Yep.
And this one was 2 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, 2-car garage, about 1,000 square foot.
Yep.
And it had a little lumps on it, but not bad. Had a hole in the roof, and it had a hole inside, and some other things that need a new water heater and some other things.
Yeah.
But you're in it for 40. Is that right?
Yeah.
In it for 40. And I think that will probably end up being $5,000 to $10,000 in rehab, probably.
Right.
And we've got it rented to a veteran for $695 a month.
Right.
And $50 for the dog. There's actually 3 dogs, but since it's a veteran, I paid for the other 2 dogs, and I waived the pet fee.
That's awesome.
Just because I love to take care of our veterans. But now you've got a fully paid off house that's cranking out $700 a month gross.
Yep.
And you bought a third of that.
I did.
So you're into that for what, 17,000?
Yeah, that's the right number.
And I'm always talking about it, but I'd like to talk to you about it since you're such a close friend and a bonus son to me. I'd love to just kind of air your dirty laundry on the internet.
Sure.
But
perfect.
So many of these people, don't think that they're going to be able to own real estate without a loan.
Right.
And here you are, you're 30 years old, and you own property without a mortgage. What do you think about that?
That's great. It's amazing. Yeah. I mean, we've talked on the other shows about, there wasn't a golden spoon for either one of us, really.
Sure, of course.
That makes the travel even harder because, you're coming from a different point. But no, it's unbelievable. But it took discipline. I mean, it was not easy. Lots of things that we had to kind of sacrifice to make sure that we got to that point, and things that we had.
You and your wife really did work together on doing the Ramsey thing and saving your money and all that kind of stuff.
Don't let the leather seats fool you.
Well, it's okay to treat yourself a little bit along the way.
Don't
You
let the
know,
leather seats fool you. Absolutely.
you drove a lot of piece of craps too along the way too.
Oh, I did. Oh yeah. The old 61
Ford
smoking.
pickup.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But back to this real estate, you're in a one of our capital companies that you own a third of,
Right.
and now you get to watch and kind of see what all the moving pieces are and how to run it. So really, it's like running a small business with that little asset. And you ran some small businesses with me over the years.
Yep.
And so, you're more familiar with the intricacies of how to run a business. But as far as it being a small business, especially with the way I'm trying to do it, is I want to involve you as a shareholder in all the decisions that are going on in this house, because hopefully you're going to buy another one.
Right.
And you'll be able to be more active about doing the lease or signing up the contractors or finding out somebody that's good that can run the contractors.
Yeah.
Like Mike Mitchison's running this job for us,
Right.
and he's supervising some of the laborers. And one of the things that happens is, when you have people that are laboring on the job, we want to use the technology of take a picture before you start working, take a picture after you start working.
Right.
Or stop working, and then send us a bill for your time. But we can utilize the technology to help manage the job.
Yeah. Which is great. Amazing that we have that.
Well, and
And
there's a lot of jobs that don't go along smoothly because somebody's not checking on the work
yeah.
of the people,
Yep.
even if
And
they're in town. They don't check the work, and you have to constantly be checking the work daily,
right.
or else
I,
it's not good.
I want to touch base on that thing that you said earlier because I think that's important to talk about. You said that we're obviously going to cash flow this one and move that money into something else. Um, I think that kind of ties into that thing that you were talking about earlier with if you have a loan attached to something, and we've talked about this in the last show, but in the last shows, but now you have an obligation to pay that loan and you have something over your head. um, this money that we had saved up, this was money that was not important to our daily lives.
Yes.
It's been sitting in that savings account like you talked about for 5 years, or about that long. So, and we haven't touched it once for 5 years. It's only gained that interest from being in that savings
Well,
account.
and let me pause that really quick. That's a
Yeah,
marital thing.
right.
No,
There's a portion of that.
I would have had you
Sure,
mobilizing that money into real estate 5 years ago, but
sure.
you had a thing with your bride that you guys wanted to make a decision and
Right.
make sure that you were working together. And I agree with that.
Yep, that
I
did take a minute.
agree with a husband and a wife explaining things to each other so they're doing it together.
Yep,
But that's why that money sat, is because you really weren't sure, or your wife wasn't sure. Oh, this is your crazy old boss, and he's doing all this stuff, and I don't know, and whatever. And everybody's got to do all of their educational work on themselves and their marriage and
yeah.
and everything else that they're doing to get in the right business with the right people,
Right.
for the right metrics.
Well, and that also is a great part of that story too, is we had an opportunity to get something locally that was a lot more of an investment. And man, even looking at that situation, I mean, it would have. I mean, we were turning every stone upside down trying to find money to get into that investment because even with the money we had saved, it wasn't enough. And we both took a look at that at one point and said, "Man, this is going against everything we've done and built. And, here's an opportunity where we can, get in with some people who have experience. We should leverage that. And, it
Well, and
made more sense.
without talking about that other deal, that you were investing in an active business.
Right.
And if you have to leverage yourself into an active business and something might happen, that's a little bit different situation than what we're talking about. What we're talking about is building wealth.
Right.
So we buy an asset like this little house, and we put a renter in it, and we're running a little small business, but it's a lot smaller and easier to manage.
Yes.
And
yes.
the other thing that you're talking about, running an active business, that's income.
Right.
We're producing wealth. This is what we're doing with this little house is not income. It's not like, hey, Jeff, give me $17,000 and I'm going to give you monthly inflow of cash for you to live on right away.
Right.
Really, it's more designed so that the little property that we bought, and I like to talk about real things, especially, when people need to understand, okay, how does it work? Well, here's the house that Jeff bought, and here's what the deal is. And when we bought that house, the Zillow estimate was $98,000.
Right.
But due to shrewd negotiating and doing some different things that we like to do to acquire properties, we paid 40 grand for that thing.
Amazing. Yeah.
So now we're through reno, oddly enough. Through reno. I just signed the lease on it today. So they're going to go next week, live in it. So now we went from abandoned, empty, with no even electric meter on the side of the place, right?
Yeah.
And now it was $40,000 at wholesale. That property is worth $98,000, $90,000 to $98,000 for sure. Now, new door, locked up, all this stuff has been done to it, and that's pretty incredible.
Right. Yeah. No, it is.
You doubled your money in 3 weeks just because we improved the property, get a tenant in it, and get it a working, producing thing. I know that we could sell that to an investor for $80,000 if we wanted to.
Right.
Pretty easy.
Right.
But we don't do that.
Right.
Because flipping it for $40,000 would be income. And we get our income from other places, and then we put the wealth building into the houses and let them grow.
Yeah, great concept.
Right?
Yep.
And now you're actually intimately involved in one of those properties, which makes it very interesting for me to discuss it with you, because you've watched me do it over the years, and we've talked about it and we've learned about it and all this other stuff. But now you're actually in the game with your own money and doing your own thing. Is that pretty incredible?
It is. It is. You mentioned it on another show. We've said that a lot today, but you mentioned how it used to just be a concept, or let's try it. Let me try it with my own money and see how it goes. And sure enough, here we are. It's working. It's worked. You took some of the risk, which thank you for that.
Right.
And it is amazing.
I love the
idea
of the manifesting of things, and I love the idea of saying, hey, here's what we're going to do. And then you think about it, you grind on it, you talk about it. You mentioned it several times. Oh, we talked about this in a different show. Well, that's part of developing those ideas and letting them grow.
Mm-hmm.
You talk about them. That's all you talk about till your wife says, shut up and don't talk about real estate anymore. Nobody wants to hear about it. But they do. They do want to hear about it. And, then all of a sudden it happens. How many times in our relationship, Jeff, and I hate to say this, but 20 years plus.
20 plus, yeah.
How many times in our years have we said, oh, and we'll get together with Jeff and he'll be involved in this with us or whatever. And now it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
We've
that's
done it a
that
lot.
manifestation thing.
Yep. We've done it
You
a
know,
lot.
and let me tell you something that's another manifestation that I have, that I'm not just doing whatever I'm doing for myself and my wealth and my income or whatever I'm doing. I'm doing the planting of the seeds for my grandkids
Right.
and their kids. And I want them to not only have wealth that they inherit, but I want them to be able to be able to run it.
Be able to run
it themselves. So you give them a gift of some money, but you also give them, a gift of how to do it.
Yep.
And if we manifest this to another level with your boys, your kids are 6 and 8, right?
8 and 10.
8 and 10. 8, and I still think of them as my little baby birds.
They've
That's
notched up. Yeah.
My little baby birds, but they're 8 and 10. So in 10 years, if you and I can build up some of these, small town Oklahoma or different, places around the globe, whatever you want to do. But if they, in 20 years, they're going to be in their 30s.
Right.
And you guys are going to say, hey, look, this is for you guys. Learn how to run this while we own it. Because when you get it, I want you to hit the ground running, and I want you to know how to change a doorknob, how to fix a hole in the floor, or what to do with this, that, or the other thing, and hopefully they'll have good memories from Jeff and Big Papa started this business, and that's where the family histories come from,
You bet.
And I love all that. I love that you're a part of it, Jeff. I just think it's really interesting. How's your wife dealing with it? Is she doing good now? She's on board.
I'll answer that in a second. Thank you for doing that. Thank you for bringing me along with you, and thank you for teaching me how to do that personally and professionally, because that's continuing professionally for me.
Yes.
Bringing people along with me, making sure that they're getting trained, not just told what to do. We ask why. We make sure we go through the training process with them. So that's worked really well for you, and it's continuing on through me, through both professional and personal.
And Jeff, thank you for that. That is
Yep.
the highest of compliments. That I
Yep.
mean, the fact that you're doing all the managing and training at your new place where you're in charge over there, and saying why and how do we learn things. I mean, it just warms my heart that, all the old school stuff that we did, you're carrying forward. And I love that.
I mean, talk about great principles. That was the stuff that has made us successful and continues to make me successful. I mean,
yes,
that we have the right mix of things to make that successful. So anyway, thank you.
So you want to test me now that you're the old man?
Sure.
What are the 5 steps of training? Tell them how to do it.
Yep.
Show them how to do it. Ask them if they have any questions. Have them show you and repeat until mastered.
It's written on my board at work.
Is that right?
And it's not automatic to everybody.
I love it.
It's something that you have to make sure that you break out and think about, because if you don't do it that way, the results will surprise you.
Well, and it's amazing how all of those old school, techniques that we used are so powerful, and it's not so complicated to run a company. We teach them how that way. And the other premise that I know you do, that we do in our new ventures that we're doing with the real estate, is everybody has to know everybody else's job. We cross train everybody so that everybody can help in those different areas, and nobody gets to not do anything. There's sales, there's accounting, there's operational things to fix the painting and whatever it is. you have to know how to do the other guy's job.
You bet. You bet. And don't show that you're too good to not do a task. I think my first couple weeks at my new place, somebody cracked the toilet seat, right? And somebody came up with a new one, held the toilet seat up and said, "Who's doing it?" And everybody kind of looked at each other, and I said, "I'll do it." And they, "Oh, really? The director of sales is going to go change the toilet seat?" Absolutely. Because I'm not above that. I'll show you how to do it. I will go through those steps with you to make sure that I know how to do that before you have to. So.
Well, you are definitely, one of the very best things that I've ever made. And when you motivate and manage people, that's a good thing that you get to say is, hey, this guy, is my bonus son because of the relationship,
Yep.
And God gives you family, and then he gives you family along the way, and helping each other succeed. That forges those relationships, and it's really fun to watch that.
Well, it's a
as a matter of fact, when you grew up and came into the store, or when you were 9 years old or whatever, it's amazing how I'm helping you along the way, and then you're helping me along the way. Because this computer behind me was a computer that I used to use at work, and I had some documents on it, and I remember the login. 2 days ago. So I called Jeff, and I'm like, "Hey, do you remember this login?" And he did. And otherwise I would have had to go in and, hacker the thing open or whatever. But the point that I'm making is that if I wouldn't have trusted Jeff as one of my, close team members back then to log into my personal computer in my office, then I wouldn't have had that friend now to call up and say, "Hey, get me inside of this thing."
Yes.
And so even if you get betrayal, and even if it doesn't work out the way it should every time, realize that 1 in 100 will, and that's worth it.
All the time.
That is worth it. And, people won't do what they're supposed to do, and that's on them, not on us.
Yep.
But we kind of got off track. I was asking, how does your wife feel about the investment thing now?
It started with go ahead and do it. We made a pact after that, our kind of large, potential purchase that we were going to do. We made a pact that, hey, let me take the ball. Let me take the ball and run with it after this. And so I think that was kind of a mutual, like, sure, go ahead. Right. And it started there, and I'm not telling you anything she can't hear or see.
No, not at all. Not at all. No.
She can watch this and hear all this. It's fine. But I think it started with a, hey, whatever, go ahead. And I think throughout this process, as you and I have gone, because, it's not just a hit a switch and start real estate. I mean, you have to know the processes. You have to know how to vet the people. You have to know when you're walking into a house that has a bunch of trash in the garage, what does that mean? What do you do? Who do you call?
Right.
And you've built a lot of that foundation already. So, she's seeing that process as we go, and there's more interest that's been sparking yesterday.
And you share that with her.
Yeah, I do. Oh yeah.
That's what I think is really important, is make sure that the family members are involved so that they know what we're building and where we're going, so that they can get their mind around it and understand it.
Yeah. And we've been doing that. I mean, and I get it. I mean, it may not be her cup of tea, specifically. I mean, she may not, get excited like we are about, real estate, but I think she can enjoy it, in different ways. So yesterday, she saw some pictures of the place. She's seen them before, but she saw some more updated pictures and videos, and, the things that we're doing, and, hey, got a new hot water heater. And, now she's starting to kind of talk about, oh, we could do this here, and we can do this thing here. And, she's
she's very creative.
She's creative. She's a big HGTV. I mean, she has to watch 20 hours of HGTV a week, so,
Well, and later she
she's
can get
connected.
into designing and modeling and all the
Yeah.
different things on these properties. The
Well,
problem is they're rentals,
yeah, exactly.
and you want to take them and make them your own
Yeah,
because we want to make
exactly.
them nice for
Yep.
the people,
Yep.
but it's not really for that.
Well, and you made a good mention of that up front. I had asked you that question. I said, "Hey, this kitchen looks a little weird," because it really did. I mean, it was up against a wall and
Absolutely, absolutely.
randomly in a living room with some carpet. And I said, "Mark, this is kind of strange looking." Not, I mean, I'm not. I'm done as much as you have, so I just don't know. And your answer was, we'll get it to a standard where it's livable and rentable. And then once we have some cash flow and once we, can prove this house, which we know will work,
Yeah.
then we can talk about making improvements as we need to.
Well, and that's the concept that we're developing with these houses is there's people that don't have great credit, but they're good people and they're willing to accept a house that isn't picture perfect.
Right.
And if we can marry those two people together in a contract that allows for our investors to take a house and keep developing that, it's like a living, breathing thing inside of a corporation. And so then we have this little house that starts off a certain way, and then the renters are putting money in it as it's building, you know,
Yep.
revenue. Then each time that we switch over the tenants or we go through the years and redo the lease, there's money that's coming in that would be taxable.
Right.
But we don't want to pay taxes with it.
Right.
We want to improve our little rental property as long as it will allow us to charge a little bit more rents. So the C property goes to the B property, goes to the A property, and it becomes a nicer and nicer place for people to live, which is good for them. It becomes a much more valuable asset for us, which is great for us as the investors, and everybody's making money along the way. And
Yep.
that's a unique concept, I think.
Well, and you even have a little, just from our early talks, you even have a little hometown thing going on. That show on HGTV, Hometown. Ashley and I watch that a lot. We like that show. You
Right.
have a little hometown thing going on because you're making a marked improvement. This house will definitely be one of them. And I know you have others in your portfolio that are like this too, but you're making a marked improvement to this house. And now you have the neighbors coming over saying, "Oh, thanks for cleaning that up. It's going to make the neighborhood look better." And, now you're building some of those relationships. I mean, it can't hurt.
Well, you're discussing my 30,000 square foot plan that really isn't so evident for other people, but
There you
small
go.
town Oklahoma is the general project.
Yeah.
But if we're getting a lot of folks in from more congested areas that are too expensive, like Denver is a good example.
Yep.
And they can buy into this small town Oklahoma situation where they can rent for $695
Right.
instead of $2,400. And Jeff, our little house that we're talking about on this show, right? That would be $2,400 in Denver, probably.
Yeah.
Two-car garage, corner lot.
Yes.
2x1.
Huge lot, big lot.
It would be about $4,000 or $400,000
For sure.
and it would be expensive to rent.
As is. I
Right.
mean, as it is.
Yeah. So if we can show people that you can work from home, high-speed internet, cute little house, great little town, that's what I want to do for a lot of people that feel lost in the gears of, oh, I'm never going to be able to afford a house. The interest rate is too high. Well, that's not true. You know, it's absolutely not true, because you can move to one of the small towns where we're at, live in one of our rentals for a year. We'll find you a house and you can buy it yourself.
Yeah.
Fix it up yourself, or have our people fix it up for you. I mean, it's absolutely, you know, the answer to, oh, I can't ever realize the dream. Not true.
For
You
sure.
just have to be creative. And Jeff, this is why I love, speaking of the manifesting thing, you'll take this a lot further than I will. When I'm gone, you'll be doing this small America town project long after I'm gone. And one of the towns that I'm working on, I want to do it just for veterans. And we have a veteran that's going into your house,
Right.
that you bought, and we're helping a veteran with the VA's association that called us, and we're making this a place for our veterans. And that's the thing. A lot of people talk about, oh, these veterans are homeless, or why doesn't anybody do anything? Well, we have a house with an address with a veteran sitting in it. That's what we're doing. And Jeff and I challenge all of you guys out there, invest your money in America and find a veteran, put them in a house. Make that life better for that veteran, and things will change. And I would love to see this small town in Oklahoma be renamed from what it is into Veteran USA, Oklahoma, 730, whatever the zip code is. But that's a bigger dream that I have. But I would love to see that. And businesses are going to come in afterwards, and there's going to be a lot of activity for these people, and they need services. And, you know, it's a fun thing to be involved with.
I was going to mention, you've always done a great job, and it's inspirational to the way that you can step yourself down to people's situations, you know, that I don't want to use the wrong word, below you, but, you know, financially, you know, with what they have, you know, you've always had a great understanding of where those people are, you know, and how to get them back on their feet. We've done a couple of those projects through our time.
Absolutely. And I think that's because that's what I can handle.
Yeah.
You know, I have a lot of people. I was in a meeting yesterday with Steve Jobs, #2, back in the day.
Yeah.
And he's involved in all these big things that he does now, and they're huge things. And I'm just not built for that. You know, I could help on a team for something that was big, but things that are small, you know, I seem to be more directed towards how to do that. And, you know, like you said earlier in the show, I grew up poor, you grew up poor. I mean, it's nice to be able to reach behind and say, hey, look, you could do this. We could do this together.
Amazing.
You know, and the logo that we have on the show here has the elephants, the big elephants and the small elephants. And, you know, believe it or not, Jeff is now the giant elephant, helping me help all the other little kids that are coming along at whatever level. And it's amazing to see that, you know. And to me, I only have a certain amount of time. So I don't want to build another, you know, multi-million-dollar company so that I can be rich and fly a plane or whatever. I want to build something with someone else, because to me, I get more wealth out of that by having somebody like you sit around your dinner table with your wife and say, holy crap, we own 5 houses now, because, you know, we got involved in that thing with Mark, and it's super positive. And not that we don't make mistakes or have fights or whatever. I mean, we all argue about different things in the ownership, and that's why I don't own 51%. And there's a lot of people, you know, as people that I worked with beforehand, you know, they have to own 51% so that they can control it. And the thing that I learned about that is I don't want to control it. I want to be with my partners, not over them.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's a weird thing that I do, but I want, you know, Jeff, you have a third control of that company.
Yep.
My partner Steve has a third, and I have a third.
Yep.
I don't want to be in control of it. I want to be with you guys. And that's the thing that makes it work. That's the thing that makes the relationship last, because you need each other.
Yep.
You know, if there's just one person that's lording over it, that's a problem.
That's right.
And maybe it'll work long term, but I guarantee you that people aren't going to, you know, have a song in their heart about it.
Right.
Right?
Yep. We did have a little asterisk though, that we're going to listen to you when when we need to.
Yeah.
Was that?
No,
we made that choice.
Everybody has their thing to give, and I happen to be old with some experience.
Yes.
And you guys are young with your bushy tails and your everything else, and it works. I'm just happy to be involved in it with you guys, and I can't wait until we start really churning the cash up and getting things going. And you come to me and say, "Hey, Mark, you know, Ashley and I have about $20,000 re-saved up. We're thinking about doing that. What do you think?" And you know, whether that's 2 years from now or 5 years from now or whatever it is, just the association with us all together, saying, "Jeff, are you buying these kind of stocks? Or do you have this in your 401k? Do you have this in your personal home? What, you know, what are we doing?" We're just taking care of each other, and nobody is taking advantage of anybody else to get the thing to move forward, except for their own entrepreneurial excitement. Does that make sense?
Yep.
And I'm talking to the audience, not you. I'm talking to the audience. But it has to be paid off. It can't be a loan. And that's why you need each other to save up your little piles of money to go in and then, you know, prove that correct.
Yep. I'm excited to do that.
It doesn't take giant amounts of money, right, Jeff?
No, I mean, not in my situation. No.
I mean, what about Buttercup Bliss? That's the one that you passed on.
I did.
Righteously so, with my advice.
Yeah.
But we'll show that. We'll when that closes and something happens with that, we will definitely have that on the show as well. But that was a $12,000 house.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think it's going to take some money, but
you bet
there are things that you can get involved with lower money and learn.
Yeah, I mean, I think this was a great example of that. I mean, I had some questions at a couple points about where's the refrigerator and what about that island that used to be in there? Where did that go? And you know, you were good along the way to kind of say, you know, let's ride the wave. We flipped the power on and it burned. There's
right. Well, there was a nice washing machine and dryer in there when we got the pictures, and that was gone when we, you know.
Yeah.
But if you're going to buy this stuff off market for a lower price, you've got to kind of roll with the punches a little bit, and you know, have a team of construction people that you trust and rehabbers that you trust, and that's where a lot of our value comes from.
Really important. Yep.
But I love the fact that you took $17,000 out of your bank account here, you put it into your house bank account here, and it was still $17,000, a third value of it. And now a third of it is like $100,000. So now it's 30.
Right.
And it's bringing in money that a third of it you own every month.
Yep. It's amazing. It's amazing.
Because
I mean,
you're
when you put it that way,
but you're really not letting go of it. It's just going into the other bank account, which is a house.
In another pool. Yeah. That took a minute to get used to too. You had to have a couple sessions with me to explain that, because it's hard to comprehend, right? I mean, it's out of the bank account and you can't see the number, but that number is somewhere else working for you harder than that number would.
And I remember the exact conversation that you're talking about, and a lot of people deal with that, and it has to do with, when am I going to get my money back?
Yep.
We spend $17,000 on this. When are we going to get our $17,000 back?
Exactly.
And the answer is the first day.
Yeah.
Because you're not just sending your money off somewhere. You're just taking it from the savings account to the real estate savings account.
That's right.
And it's sitting there, and now they're both growing.
Building wealth. Yep. Building wealth. Yeah. It's,
Well,
it's
and
an amazing process.
there is a lot of extra things that are going on in your future that the real estate thing is a big deal.
Yeah.
Like the passive income that I would make on real estate doesn't affect my Social Security income. So it's a good overall hedge for American families to build their wall around their children and their families and that kind of thing. So I think we're running on the edge of our show time, but Jeff, I love you. Thank you for your co-hostingship on the show.
Always.
I think that allowing people to look into your personal thing that you're doing helps them learn. You know, and when we have guests on the show and we want to talk about their personal things, it helps other people realize, hey, I used to be drunk. I used to be an addict. I used to be poor. I used to, whatever it is. If we can show people that, you know, there's success and growth at all levels, that's what our show is about, helping others and helping people kind of learn by example.
Yep. We love it.
All right,
we
buddy.
Walked it. Thank you. Great talking to you.
Happy birthday parties.
Oh, yeah.
Jeff Myers, everybody.